A woman left home alone suddenly feels a sharp pain in her stomach. Soon after, severe medical distress flows down her legs. After a heartbreaking struggle, the woman gives birth to a tragic newborn and does not survive the childbirth crisis. However, driven by her deep obsession, she turns into a restless spirit who cries at the pier every day while holding her silent infant. As soon as the villagers hear her cries, they lock their doors and windows in terror and refuse to go outside. The entire village instantly becomes eerily silent. 1 year later, her husband, Mac, who was drafted on their wedding night, finally heads home with 4 of his fellow comrades.
นาคจ๋าพี่กลับมาแล้วจ้า
Mac pushes the door open and sees the crib, but he finds no one inside after walking in. Suddenly, a pair of hands wraps around him from behind. Mac turns around and sees his wife, Nak. Reunited after a long time, the couple embraces tightly. Nak is so excited that she bursts into tears of joy. At this very moment, all of his anxiety, exhaustion, and uncertainty completely vanish because his wife and child are right in front of him. After calming down, Mac introduces his comrades to his wife. Because it is getting late, his comrades can only stay for the night and leave the next day. However, Mac cannot bear to part with the brothers who fought alongside him, so he invites them to stay until the war ends. Nak suddenly changes her expression upon hearing this. Fortunately, his comrades do not plan to stay permanently. After returning to the room, Mac lies on her lap and enjoys the peace of having his lover by his side. Hearing her sincere words and seeing the tears in her eyes, Mac holds his wife's face and promises to never leave her again. True love never needs to be dramatic, as a simple confession of missing someone is enough. A single longing look is enough to express love completely. Mac and Nak cuddle in the courtyard as they watch the fireflies dancing in the sky. Nak suddenly scares him. She tells him to look at the ghost fires. Seeing this, Mac quickly hides behind her and casually complains. However, these words make Nak freeze her expression. Humans and ghosts belong to different worlds, so she is afraid of hurting Mac but still craves his company. Her obsession with happiness is the very reason she turned into a ghost in the first place. Struggling internally, she can only carefully hide her true identity. But the next second, Mac takes out a Buddhist amulet he brought back from the battlefield and tries to give it to her. This makes Nak panic instantly because as a ghost, she is naturally afraid of holy items. So she uses the excuse that there are injury marks on the amulet to decline it. Immersed in happiness, Mac completely misses his wife's strange behavior. However, the comrades who returned with him begin to notice something is wrong. They soon discover that something is off. They go to the village market to buy things, but the villagers avoid them like the plague and refuse to do business. Confused, the men ask a drunken villager selling liquor about what is going on. He starts to say something about Nak and Dang, but before he can finish, Dang covers his mouth and quickly drags him back inside. That evening, the 4 comrades drink together and try to guess what the drunken villager meant. At this moment, Shin remembers something his mother once told him. He recalls that if a person bends over and looks between their legs, they can see if someone is a ghost. These words startle the group. If this is true, the drunken villager clearly meant that Nak is not human. If this is real, Mac could be in grave danger. To verify this theory, Shin volunteers to go and find out the truth. But as soon as he steps onto the stairs of Mac's house, he trips and falls out of sheer nervousness. When he looks up, he sees Mac's house completely ruined and covered in dust and dead leaves. He holds back his anxiety and walks into the house, only to see the empty crib suddenly rocking on its own. Terrified, Shin quickly runs back to their room and tells his 3 comrades everything he saw. But the drunken men do not believe him at all. However, what they do not know is that the remains of the drunken villager are floating on the nearby river. The next day, while Mac takes the 4 of them to repair his ruined house, Tur urgently needs to pee and goes into the nearby woods. He spots something in the dirt and curiously digs it up, only to discover a corpse. The ring worn on the corpse is exactly the same as the one Nak wears. Before Tur can process what is going on, the corpse suddenly twitches, scaring him so much that he scrambles back to the house. He even smashes into a beehive along the way. Tur tries to tell his friends everything he saw, but his face is so swollen from bee stings that no one can understand what he is saying. Anxiously, Tur goes into the house to find a pen and paper and writes down 4 words. The other 3 comrades look at the paper and instantly freeze in terror. At this moment, it suddenly starts to rain. Make comes out to call them inside to avoid the rain, but sees the small note in their hands. The 4 comrades do not dare to let Make know the truth. They fear Nak's revenge, as well as Mac getting hurt by her, so they decide to hide the note. However, Mac still manages to grab the note. Fortunately, the rain blurs the handwriting on the note, making Mac read that Nak has hemorrhoids instead. While Mac goes into the room to ask Nak about it, they try to leave quickly. But watching Make walk away, Tur cannot bring himself to abandon his friend. Not long after, the drunken villager's son Dang comes to ask for their help with his mother's funeral rite. The 4 men are confused. They wonder how she could pass away so suddenly since she was perfectly fine just a few days ago. Hearing this, the men finally realize that this is a warning from Nak. Anyone who tells Make the truth will be killed. Not only that, but to intimidate them, Nak also has Make invite everyone over for dinner. However, the dishes on the dining table are all just bugs and leaves. Although terrified, the men do not dare to refuse. They understand Nak's message but cannot just leave Mac behind. So after dinner, they start playing a charades game and try every possible way to hint to make that Nak is a ghost. However, Mac thinks they are slandering Nak. In a fit of rage, he kicks them out and warns them that he will cut ties with anyone who says such things again. After returning inside, Mac gently comforts Nak and says that he will always love her no matter what she becomes. He then takes Nak to the amusement park, which is their first date since his return. On the Ferris wheel, Nak asks the question she cares about the most. Mac answers no, because he cannot bear to live alone in this world. Hearing Mac's sincere answer, Nak feels both happy and sad, as she is happy that Mac loves her so much, but fears he will not be able to handle it once he learns the truth. Just as Make and Nak walk deeper into the haunted house, his comrades suddenly appear to pull him away quietly and tell him the truth. But Mac refuses to listen and insists on going home no matter what. However, his old injury suddenly acts up halfway there. The 4 men follow the injury marks and find him. Looking at the reopened wound, Tur suddenly remembers that it has been several months since Mac got hurt, yet his wound has never healed. He then realizes that since Nak wears a wedding ring, Mac should have one too. A terrifying thought instantly hits him as he wonders if Make is actually the ghost instead of Nak. Thinking of this, Tur pulls out some holy rice and throws it at Mac. Make cries out in pain, convincing everyone that he is the ghost. They immediately turn around and run toward the pier to keep Nak from getting hurt. They even plan to take her with them. However, the small escape boat cannot bear the weight of 4 people at all. Seeing river water flood into the boat, they have no choice but to dump their luggage and throw away the oars. But at this moment, Mac catches up to them. Strangely enough, despite supposedly being a ghost, Mac actually gets a cramp in the water. The group cannot bear to watch Make go under, so they pull him onto the boat. On the boat, Mac tells them that the holy rice was thrown directly onto his wound earlier, which is why he cried out in pain. If this is the case, a new problem arises. Since neither Make nor his wife is a ghost, then who is the real one? Right at this moment, the ring falls out of A's clothes. It turns out he is the real ghost all along. Seeing this, Mac kicks him overboard and continues to flee with everyone else. However, without the oars, they cannot row the boat at all. Unexpectedly at this moment, Nak hands the oars back to them. After grabbing the oars, Tur suddenly realizes that they were tossed dozens of meters away. So how did Nak manage to reach them? To verify his theory, he stands up and looks between his legs, only to discover that Nak is indeed a ghost, and he loudly tells everyone. In a panic, the men jump off the boat and drag Mac ashore before rushing to a temple to seek a monk's help. However, Nak quickly catches up to them because she only wants Make and does not want to hurt anyone else. But the group cannot just leave Mac behind. Seeing Nak blocked by the holy rice thrown by the monk, Mac cannot bear to see her get hurt, so he forcefully knocks over the holy water. Seeing that everything that could harm her is gone, Nak instantly extinguishes all the candles in the room. When the candles light up again, They find themselves completely restrained together. Knowing he is no match for Nak, the monk immediately turns around and flees, leaving the terrified men screaming in fear. But Nak does not hurt them and just keeps calling Mac's name. Right at this moment, A pushes the door open from the other side of the temple and walks in. He explains to everyone that the reason he had the ring on him was to pay off his debts. He secretly took the ring from the corpse and planned to sell for money. After verifying that A is not a ghost, the group finally understands that Nak has been the only ghost from the very beginning. They try to escape, but the temple doors and windows suddenly slam shut. Watching Nak approach them step by step, Tur tells her that humans and ghosts belong to different worlds and cannot be together. Nak hangs upside down from the ceiling but does not hurt them, instead just crying out her grievances loudly. The group replies that she harms people and accuses her of killing the drunken villager. However, Nak explains that she never hurt anyone and that the drunken villager simply drowned after falling into the water. Seeing that everyone still refuses to believe her, Nak completely breaks down in tears. But the men still feel that humans and ghosts belong to different worlds, so she and Make cannot be together. Nak knows this truth as well, so she cannot argue and can only cry helplessly. In her despair, she comes up with a crazy idea to take Make away with her. Seeing Nak reaching out to him, Mak calmly walks toward her, closes his eyes, and lets his tears fall. He cries because he is actually terrified of facing her like this. But he still walks toward her out of love, as he deeply loves her, even if she is a ghost. He is completely willing to leave this world with her. Seeing Mak cry, Nak instantly lets go of her crazy idea. She gently wipes the tears from his face. She loves him just as much and cannot bear to see him get hurt, not even for her own sake. Listening to Nak's heartfelt farewell, Mak reveals the truth that he has known Nak as a ghost all along. After the charades game, he verified that Nak is indeed a ghost by looking between his legs. But even so, in order not to hurt Nak, he still chose to throw away the amulet that could protect him. Later, he also dug up Nak's remains in the woods. That night, he knelt in the rain and cried bitterly while tightly hugging Nak's remains. Finally, Mak cries and tells Nak that if it were not for his longing for her, he would have died on the battlefield a long time ago. After saying this, he steps forward again and kisses Nak. Because of love, the cowardly man is now completely fearless. No matter the outcome, this time he will never let Nak leave alone again. Life and death, humans and ghosts, nothing can separate them anymore. What touches me the most in this movie, besides Mak and Nak, are the four brothers who claim to be scared but hold on to Make for dear life. Are they afraid of ghosts? Of course they are. They are so terrified that they had to play a charades game to beat around the bush just to say that Nak is a ghost. However, despite their fear and constant running, they always come right back every single time. When the truth is finally revealed, they do not rush to escape, but instead try their absolute best to protect their brother. And what about Mak? He is a coward who is afraid of ghosts, which is something he never denied from start to finish. But when he faces Nak, who is reduced to her final remains, he actually kneels in the rain and tightly embraces her while crying his heart out. It is not that he is unafraid, but rather that his fear of losing her is much greater than his fear of ghosts. This is probably the most touching part of the movie, as it shows you exactly how deeply a person can love someone else. Nak turned into a ghost just to wait for him. Mak pretended not to know the truth just to stay by her side. And the four brothers refused to leave, despite knowing the danger, just to protect the profound bond between them. It is an unwavering devotion to never abandon the one you love, no matter what they become. It is the most instinctive and touching choice humans can make when facing life and death. See you next time.